Good morning, RDS. It is Sunday, November 25th. I've opened up lesson module number 9. I've went through quite a bit of it, and I realized maybe what I gave to you in lesson module number 8 would have been more fitting for this week's entry. So, because of that, I'm going to attempt to give you something different this week. So just to summarize, I know that you know your course information, but I'm going to share what I've taken from it this week. We are going to share our emerging teaching philosophy with you. We're going to give a final self-reflection on this task and the experience of providing feedback to peers with a final grade out of 20. And you've kind of left it open-ended to see where we go with that and how we approach our final grade, and without a rubric attached to it. Additionally, you have asked us to talk about our professional development moving forward and taking charge of our own learning. If we have plans, do we have future plans to become leaders within our schools or communities? I'll say communities, you didn't say communities. To self-regulate our own learning. You've asked about us our social media presence and if we could take advantage of following other teachers or professionals in our areas. And it's quite a bit this week to wrap up lesson module number 9. So what I would like to do is talk about this professional development portion first. I think I've been professionally developing for years now, outside of this program. Obviously, you've seen my socials, or you've seen my YouTube show anyway, or maybe you haven't. I don't know how much you've actually watched of it. But I've been building bridges for years now. There was a point several years ago I tried to get in the Ministry of Labor as an inspector. I made it to the final round of interviews. Ultimately, I wasn't selected. They took somebody internally. And after that is when I put a reset, I suppose, on my life and really thought about what I wanted to do. Because prior to that, I had spent a few $1,000s obtaining my occupational health and safety certificate through Fanshawe College. I did that on my own in order to prepare for that Ministry of Labor job. So when I didn't get it, I knew they screwed up, and I knew that I needed to move on in life. So that's when I started my YouTube show. I actually started promoting the trades long before the YouTube show. And that's what led me to meeting the Minister of Labor. And then it sparked this idea for that little fun cooking show that I created out of just boredom. I started talking about the skilled trades, and I got so much feedback on it that I just continued to grow it, which then turned into a journalism show, essentially, with that premise of cooking and sharing my love of cooking and talking to people. So professional development has never been an issue with me. I've been doing that for years. I've been building bridges with stakeholders, and not just stakeholders, with politicians, with decision makers, with board of directors for things like the Skilled Trades Ontario. I know he's not anybody's fan, but I've become friends with Stephen Lecce. And I've chatted with him several times about education and curriculum changes. And I've had my views about apprenticeship taken into consideration. In fact, I pitched an idea to the Ministry of Labor about 6 months ago about this idea that I had about promoting the trades, and sure enough, probably by coincidence, they are now releasing a show about the skilled trades that is entirely basically what I pitched to them. So I'll get no royalties or payment for that, which is, par for the course of the friggin' ministry. I was just at that Level Up Trade Fair in November 1st and 2nd here in London, Ontario, and then I really realized the impact of the work that I've been doing. If you put my name into Google, you'll see that I've been on countless interviews across North America. I obviously have that YouTube show. I've been in several publications about promoting the trades. So I've always been like a D-list celebrity in that sense. I'm like that warm body laying on the ground in the zombie movie. That's me. But I know that I've had an impact, and I'm one of the more recognizable faces in that small circle of promoting trades in Ontario. But going to the event this year opened my eyes about that impact that I have made. And that I was supposed to work the Ministry of Labor booth at this event. And when I arrived, Skilled Trades Ontario asked the Ministry of Labor if they could take me to represent Skilled Trades Ontario. So I was working this booth at Skill Trades Ontario. I ended up working the booth by myself for 45 minutes to an hour at a time on several occasions, while there were 9 paid Skill Trades Ontario employees at this event, which this is something I have to take to upper management and talk to them about, because there was no way that I, as a volunteer, should have been working that booth by myself. But I recognized that I knew much more about the skill trades than those pylons did. So I don't blame them for walking away, but it's not okay. But I had countless people, whether it was OEAP professionals, not just like regionally from London, Ontario, but from other regions that were coming up to talk to me. They'd seen my work. They were really impressed by what I had done. I had stakeholders from every different arm of the trades coming and talking to me at the booth. I had board of directors from Skill Trades Ontario want to talk to me. I had several teachers that I'd never even met within my school board who knew who I was, and they wanted to talk to me and share ideas. So I think that professional development in terms of my social media growth, and like I'm on all the channels, like I'm on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram. So I'm everywhere. And people recognize me, and it's afforded me a lot of opportunities to work with a lot of different people. One of them, I'm wearing their sheet metal worker local, 473. I was in the sheet metal union for about a year. Never worked a single day. I paid dues, and I never worked for them, but I spent most of my time as a non-union sheet metal worker or a sheet metal worker with CLAC, which is another union. But I've built and maintained those relationships throughout the many years that I've worked in the trades, to the point where when I have to do my SLP project later on, probably around Christmas time, and try to execute it, the sheet metal worker union is going to donate a bunch of sheet metal to me so I can perform this SLP to Youth Opportunities Unlimited. I think that's the power of my connections, my professional development, is the union is going to supply me with stuff, even though I'm not a union member anymore. So I think that's pretty cool. That professional development also led me to being an instructor for Ontario Youth Apprenticeship Program at a Skilled Trades Day or week throughout the summer, which is phenomenal in its own right, because I wasn't even an educator and they brought me out to work with young people. That's just that connection that I've been fostering for a couple of years with them led to that opportunity. I had a bunch of organizations offering me up free materials while at that trade show, welding companies, automotive companies, because now I'm teaching automotive. They had recognized me, they had known my name, they wanted to donate stuff to the program. I don't read a lot of professional text magazines, journals, websites, workshops, any of that kind of stuff, but I get the trade events. And to me, as a tech teacher, that is more, I would say it's more important to be into the heartbeat of what is happening in my community in terms of trades than reading a text, a magazine, a journal. I think I'm well versed on what is happening in the technology side of the trades. I think with these new curriculum changes too that nobody really knows about yet, I'm going to get that information when necessary as well. But I think I do a very good job at staying on top of what I need to know and what I don't need to know as well. Am I ready to be a school leader? I think I am a leader. I think I've been a leader for several years, not necessarily as a teacher yet, but within my community, within my career. I was a supervisor for 15 years. I think I've always been a leader no matter what I've done. I've taken it upon myself to become a leader through that YouTube show, through building those connections. Nobody paid me for any of that stuff. Nobody paid me to go to these events and volunteer my time, but I did it out of a passion to grow, to develop. And it's paying off now. As an educator, it's finally paying off. Which at that point in time, when I was promoting the trades, I never saw it leading to what it has today. So yeah, I'm going to be a leader eventually in my school. Actually, prior to moving to the new school that I'm at my previous school, I pitched to the principal about creating an online orientation package for new hires, because I didn't like the one that was given to me. It was a couple pieces of paper and basically that was it. and then my parking pass and all that. And I said it was lacking the spirit of the school. And I pitched the idea of filming an introduction from the vice principal, from the principal, from the tech head, and then some of the tech teachers. And then an idea of like interviewing some students and their experiences. And the principal loved the idea. Unfortunately, I landed at LTO at my new school prior to having an opportunity to build that package. But as a student teacher, not even a month into my teaching time at the school I was at, I was already taking on something. I was already establishing my leadership qualities in that sense. I was already making a name for myself, and I'm going to continue to do it at the new school. So I have an absolute interest in being a leader. I always have. I've always had an interest in being a positive influence. And it's funny, I saw a thing on Facebook today. I don't know if you're on Facebook, RDS. If you are not, it's a cesspool. And if it's not a cesspool, it's people living their best life. Which, if you know them in real life, you know that they are not living their best life. But on Facebook, they are. And typically I hate memes and shared photos and content, but this is something that stood out to me today. And it says, never say never. That's not my job. And then under the bolded portion, it says, that oozes arrogance and laziness. Chip in to help with what needs to be done, even if it's not your responsibility. Do what needs to be done, or help someone find the solution, period. At the very bottom, it says, even when nobody's watching. I think we've all seen Spider-Man. I actually watched it yesterday, bored, I don't know why. There's a point where Ben tells Peter, with great power comes great responsibility. And all of this leads me back to the beginning of entering this program, where Tim had pointed out, if you are in a position where you are comfortable in the program or you're doing very well, check in with your colleagues and help them out if you can. And I've done that from day one. I've helped my colleagues endlessly. Phone calls, I had 4 phone calls this week from colleagues that were struggling, that wanted some help, some information, some guidance. They wanted some constructive criticism. That's always been something I've done as part of this program. It gets exhausting at times, but I do have the luxury of not having a wife at home. My son is growing up. I took Tim at his word when he said that you need to dedicate the next 14 months of your life to this program. I've put my social networks on hold. I've put going to entertainment on hold because I wanted to do well in this. I wanted to position myself to get the most out of this program because I am paying $20,000 to do this or whatever it's going to cost. And I recognize not everyone has that luxury, or some people have chosen to not make those necessary changes. Regardless, I don't care why. It's not my position to judge. But if I can help out, I like helping out because I like to celebrate the success of everyone, not the individual. I know I'm awesome. I want to see other people do awesome. I want to help where I can. And for the first time in my life, I feel like my colleagues value my input. I never felt that my entire time in the skilled trades. And I'm kind of shocked that people value what I have to say, whether it's in this program or when someone asks to do an interview request with me, or when the minister invites me to be a delegate at a convention. I don't understand what it is about myself that draws people into me. I think it's more than the ability for me to complete my work. I think I have a personality that people enjoy, that they feel comfortable with, that they trust. And I'm proud of that. Again, it's that je ne sais quoi. I don't know what it is. And maybe I'll never see it in myself. But I recognize that it's there. I recognize that people are drawn to me and they're interested and they value what I have to say. So that kind of solidifies the fact that I am a leader. I'm going to be a leader moving forward. I've always been a leader. And I'm okay with that. And I know when to draw lines too. Like in our other course, we had the option of working in groups to present our assignments. And I had to put my foot down this time. I had the option of not being in a group, and I chose not to be in a group. Because I like being responsible once in a while for what I put out there. I like the weight of the success or the failure that comes with it. And quite honestly, I don't enjoy working in groups because I do feel like a lot of people don't pull their weight when they're in a group. I think a lot of people like to be in a group because they want somebody else to help pull up their grade. I like to be graded, valued, whatever, assessed on my own merit. Doesn't mean that I can't work in group settings, it's just I don't prefer to. So I've also had to learn to identify as a leader when to draw lines, because if you're not drawing lines, then you're not really sending the right message, I suppose, to others of when they should know their limits. Getting back to my emerging teaching philosophy, I don't know what to. I feel like I should get a 20 out of 20. I really do, Darren. I don't care if you give me a 20 out of 20 on it. I think that I've exemplified most of what you've asked for in this course. I think through the discussion boards, I've given thoughtful responses, feedback to my peers. I know that you're specifically asking for what the final grade should be on this paper. I don't know that my paper is going to be a great summarization of everything in this program. I think these interactions that I've given you are much more important than my paper. Now, when someone's looking at a philosophy paper, that's what they have to take at face value. I think most of it is phony baloney when you're reading a philosophy paper. I really do. When I see these statements, these emerging teaching philosophies, I think they're all the same. They're boring. They are hitting those high water social hot button topics that you want to see in a paper, and I think it's nonsense. I don't think there's any real value to it. I think there is real value in having communication with somebody to gauge their character, which says much more about their paper than 500 words, 2 pages, 3 pages, whatever. But I do think my paper is a good representation of who I am. I don't think it's going to blow you out of the water by any means. Providing critical feedback to my peer. Oliver was my peer for this, as I mentioned, and I had no problem giving feedback to Oliver. I find Oliver is an academic. If you don't already know that, he went to university. He's very well spoken, but him and I have connected on a level that nobody else in our class have. I think because we struggle with some learning disabilities, and Oliver seems to think that I'm an academic, but I'm not an academic by any means. But I've always had it. It's always been very easy for me to be open, especially with Oliver, and give actual feedback without fear of him being upset by it. And I gave him some good feedback that gave him some food for thought. He gave me some as well. Do we need any criteria in the form of a rubric at this point in time? Do we need a rubric for our final paper? I don't think so. And I think you purposely left it out for that reason. I think most of us have not been working on that rubric for quite a while. Those who have understood the program have stopped caring about that rubric and started exploring ourselves as not only future teachers, but as learners through this program, and how we've developed and what we've changed and what we're going to implement and how we see ourselves moving forward. So if you're talking about a rubric for this paper, I don't know if I've hit that rubric. I don't care. Are grades necessary or important? Yeah, they are. They still are there. And it's only because the rest of the world values grades. The outside world values those grades. Employers value it. You are still looked at in society if you have a 4.0 or a 4.09 to be more intelligent, more suited for a role than somebody that had a 2.9. That's unfortunately where we stand today. Yes, what do you call the worst doctor? Or what do you call the doctor that got the lowest grade in his course? You still call him doctor? Sure. But when it comes to social standards and settings, grades are still valued. And until that culture changes, grades will always be important. Are grades important to me as an educator in my class? No, they're not. They really aren't, because I recognize that people develop at their own pace. And as long as there is some form of growth, that's what we're looking for. That's what I'm looking for. Some kind of evolution, some kind of scaffolding, some kind of development. Some kids are going to get it faster than others. They shouldn't be penalized because they don't get it at the same speed as their friend, someone next to them. So no, they're not important to me. These grades aren't important to me in a sense. But Darren, it'd be nice to walk out of this at the end in the summer to say, you know what? The work that I put into this reflected on my GPA. I would like that reflection. I know what I'm getting out of this program, whether I get the mark that I want or not, but it would be nice just to look back at my paper, my diploma, or whatever, my transcript, and feel good about that. Satisfactory or not satisfactory or pass, fail, doesn't mean anything to me, but definitely looking at a mark is nice, right? So in a sense, grades still are important to me, and maybe I'll change that come second semester, maybe with a little bit more of this experience as a teacher on this LTO, maybe my views change a little bit. But yeah, I think you should give me a 20 on this. Being totally modest in that too, right? But if you're strictly grading on my paper and the feedback that I gave my peer, and then my reflectiveness here, then maybe you don't give me a 20, and that's okay. I've learned through this program, after initially bitching about it in the beginning, I learned to utilize this program for what it was for, this course, I'm sorry, and I've used it to grow and develop and become and question. And that is more important than whatever final mark I get on this. And you facilitated that, and you did. You met me, like I said, you met me when I said I needed somebody to push me. You pushed me to do more. And it was kind of frustrating at times, but it's paid off. At least I think it's paid off for myself. This might have been the most valuable course I've had today. Now, if you look at some of the other courses that we've taken prior to years, it's pretty obvious why this would be the most important to me today. We've had a social media course, and we had a psychology course. We had a few days in Windsor, learning how to teach. I don't know. This has been super valuable to my development. And I genuinely am looking forward to number 2 in the new year. And I'm going to keep sending you videos prior to next semester, because I want to keep in touch with you about my development, where it's going, how I'm doing, what I'm learning. I want to continue to force myself to reflect. I asked a question, I think it was in the first week of this. How does somebody change if through their own self-reflection they don't recognize there's an issue? And there were times that I did not recognize there was an issue when I was reflecting, and you helped point out some things which then led me to start really questioning. And that is what sparked my change in how I approach this program. It's how I tried to give you something different every week, and something that just wasn't typed words on paper. Hey, I'm rambling now. I love this course, and it's I'm sad to see it wrap up. I'm not sad for the amount of work that we have to put in every week, but yeah, I'm going to continue with these videos. So that's my lesson module number 9, critical reflective journal entry. I'm still going to send off the email that you have stated in your syllabus that wants our paper and our grading, and whether or not we think it's important to self-reflect and all that. So it's been a slice, RDS.